Thank you. I will now call to order the THPRD Board of Directors meeting for June 16th, 2020. Jessica, please take roll.
Ashley Hartmeyer-Prigg.
Here.
Heidi Edwards.
Here.
Wendy Kroger.
Here.
Tia Ping.
Here.
Felicita Monteblanco.
Here. There is no, so thank you, perfect. There is no action resulting from executive session, but I will share that we had a wonderful conversation with our general manager, Doug Menke, regarding his annual review. We are going to follow up with a few things a few action items, nothing of major concern, but we appreciate his leadership very, very much. The team is grateful for his character and his wonderfulness, especially during a time that we've all been tested and are all exhausted. He is the captain of our ship, and we appreciate him greatly. Anything my peers want to add to that? All right.
This is Ashley.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't want to take too much time, but we're just very grateful for you, Doug. I'm grateful for your leadership, not just these past 3 months, but through the past year. And I'm looking forward to what we can do next year.
Thank you, Ashley. Much more eloquent than what I said. Thank you. I know everyone shares that same thought, and I hate that we can't see each other's faces. It kind of makes me crazy, but know that we're all smiling as we discuss Doug and celebrate his leadership and look forward to the next year. So next on the agenda is election of officers for fiscal year 2021. I will now open the floor for nominations for president for fiscal year 2021.
Felicita, this is Heidi. I would like to nominate Ashley Hartmeyer-Prigg to serve as president for our next fiscal year ahead. She's shown great leadership and steadfast, just energy this past year, and I know that she will help us as a board to follow up with those things that we have started and look forward to doing in the future. So I'd like to make a motion to elect Ashley Hartmeyer-Prigg as president.
Thank you, Heidi. Do we have a second?
This is Tia. I will second that.
Fantastic. Jessica, I assume you need to take roll for each of these?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Jessica, please take roll.
Ashley Hartmeyer-Prigg.
Yes.
Wendy Kroger.
Yes.
Tia Ping.
Yes.
Heidi Edwards.
Yes.
Felicita Monteblanco.
Yes, enthusiastically. Thank you. Excited for Ashley in her new leadership role. I will now open the floor for nominations for secretary for fiscal year 2021.
This is Ashley. I would like to nominate Tia Ping to continue on as secretary for the year going forward. Our board is wonderful. I've been grateful to work with all of you, but I think it's a great opportunity for Tia to continue to prepare to eventually become president next time around or one time.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
This is Heidi. I second that motion.
Thank you. Jessica, please take roll. Call roll.
Tia Ping.
Yes.
Wendy Kroger.
Yes.
Heidi Edwards.
Yes.
Ashley Hartmeyer-Prigg.
Yes.
Felicita Monteblanco.
Yes. Excellent. Grateful to Tia for being our secretary and her leadership. I will now open the floor for nominations for Secretary Pro Temp for fiscal year 2021.
This is Tia. I would like to, I didn't discuss it with her, but I would love to nominate Heidi for Secretary Pro Temp if she would like. She has been doing a phenomenal job being just a community liaison for everyone. And she's just very passionate about our district, and I would love to see her in that position if she so chooses.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Jessica?
Hi, I'm sorry. Tia Ping,
Yes.
Heidi Edwards,
Yes, thank you.
Wendy Kroger,
Yes.
Ashley Hartmeyer-Prigg,
Yes.
Felista Monteblanco.
Yes. Thank you, ladies, for all your leadership. And it's an exciting next year for us as we try a new combo. So I'm excited. With that, we will go
Well,
into the
you know what
proclamation.
Can I just say, though, as we are changing leadership and everything, I want to take the time to recognize you as our president of how great and an amazing job, and just how wonderfully passionate. And I know this, the district just takes up so much of your heart. And I just want to make sure we put that in the minutes, that we all are so thankful for you, and thankful for the leadership you've shown us, and having all of us be a completely pretty much brand new board. And even you, with just a few years ahead of us in experience, you've done an amazing job. And so I just want to put my gratitude out for you and let you know that you shine and you made such a difference and will continue to make a difference. And we're very thankful for your leadership.
You are very, very sweet, Tia. Thank you. And this is an amazing, amazing team. I am so grateful for each and every one of you. Gonna go on to agenda item 5, and you can't see me blushing. Proclamation for Parks and Recreation Month in July. I think I'm first up. Yes. So, whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, and voters felt so strongly about the importance of parks and recreation that they voted in 1955 to establish Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District to provide dedicated parks and recreation services. And
whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to our quality of life, ensuring our health and wellness, and contributing to our economic and environmental well-being. And
whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for people experiencing disabilities, and improve our mental, emotional, and physical health. And
whereas parks and recreation programs are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And
whereas parks and recreation programs provide the opportunity to build community and bring our incredibly diverse population together to share experiences, learn from each other, and build cross-cultural connections that strengthen the fabric of our community. And
whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect our natural habitats, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers, and preserve the ecological beauty of these areas for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And
whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month.
now, therefore, the Board of Directors of the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District does hereby declare the month of July 2020 as Parks and Recreation Month, and do urge all those in the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District to support and promote this observance.
thank you. So next up, we have our budget hearing to adopt the fiscal year 2021 budget, levying taxes and making appropriations. So I will now open the budget hearing for adoption of the fiscal year 2021 budget, levying taxes and making appropriations. Looks like we have a report from Keith.
Yes, thank you. So tonight, in accordance with local budget law, we are requesting that the board hold a public hearing on the budget for fiscal year 2020-21. The district's budget committee held several meetings earlier this year, the last 2 specifically reviewing the proposed budget. At the committee's last meeting in May, they approved the proposed budget with minor adjustments. This approved budget is presented to you tonight for adoption. The budget must be adopted by June 30 in order to provide authority for expenditures in the new fiscal year. At the conclusion of tonight's budget hearing, staff is requesting that the Board of Directors approve Resolution 2020-10, which adopts the budget that was approved by the district's budget committee, levies the ad valorem property taxes that will be assessed, and makes appropriations for the 2020-21 fiscal year, giving authority to make expenditures. That concludes the staff report, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Keith. Jessica, did we receive any public comment regarding the budget?
We did not.
Thank you. Is there any questions or comments from my peers?
This is Ashley. I have one question. And I'm sorry if I've asked this before. Knowing that we built a budget the best we could with the information we had at the time, will we just, it would be the board's duty to make amendments with staff recommendation and input going forward?
I'll start to answer that, but I'll also invite Lori Baker to weigh in on this one. I don't think it's the intention to ask the board to formally amend the budget or to adjust it, but staff is preparing alternate spending plans based on the available resources within the overall authority that's provided within the budget.
Does that offer clarity, Ashley?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Any other questions from my peers or concerns?
No questions. I want to recognize the staff again for the work that they've done to prepare this budget, knowing that there is a lot more work ahead as we move through COVID and, you know, reopening the district. So just kudos to staff, because we know that the work is very much doubled at this point in time.
Yeah, I echo that, and I'm just so appreciative of a document that is so accessible, because I look at other jurisdictions who will not be named, and it is not nearly as accessible, and the way you put definitions in it, and it's an amazing document that all of you should be really, really proud of. And not only does it reflect our values, it also is super accessible by the community. Any other questions or concerns? Wendy, Tia?
This is Tia. I have no questions.
Thank you. I'm fine too. Thank you. This is Wendy.
Sorry, it's hard when I can't see y'all. So with that, I will now close the budget hearing. And we do have a motion, if somebody would like to make a motion.
This is Tia. I move that the Board of Directors approval of the resolution 2020-10 to adopt the 2020-2021 budget, levy ad valorem taxes, and make appropriations.
Is there a second?
This is Heidi. I second.
Thank you. Jessica?
Wendy Kroger,
Yes.
Ashley Hartmeyer-Prigg,
Yes.
Heidi Edwards,
Yes.
Tia Ping,
Yes.
Felicita Monteblanco.
Yes. Perfect. Okay. I think that's it with, oh, I need to, do I need to close it, or did I already do that?
You already did it.
Sorry. Thank you, Jessica. I'm already on to the next page. Okay. So next we're going into audience time. I think we got at least one piece of testimony. Correct, Jessica?
We did, just the one email that came in earlier today.
Tia, could you read that?
Yeah. So this is from Claire Renew. Board President and members of the board, for the record, my name is Claire Renew. I live at 5335 Southwest Menlo Drive in Beaverton. I am writing today to propose renaming Fano Creek Trail. I am proposing instead the name, and I hopefully I say this right, Chakapee Trail. The first known people to settle the banks of the Beaverton and the Fano Creeks were the Tualatin, a tribe, the Kalapuya Native Americans. Their names for the area was Chakapee, meaning place of the beaver. According to THPRD's District Compiled Policies, Chapter 8.05B1, the district supports consideration of renaming requests that preserve and honor the history of the district and the community it serves. historical figures, its Native American heritage, local landmarks, and prominent geographical locations. We are currently at a moment in history when we are being asked to reflect on how we recognize the lives and contributions of all people, not just those of white settlers. Renaming the Fano Creek Trail to Chicopee Trail will provide THPRD an opportunity to honor our native settlers' heritage. Furthermore, the name Chicopee Trail would restore the original name to its historical significant location in our district's history. I thank you for your time and consideration of this proposal. Claire Renew.
Thank you. I love emails like this. This is great. I'm curious, Doug, if you think, I mean, I can't speak for all my peers, but yeah, and it's hard not to listen to something like this and think, oh, signage and all the things that we'd have to do. At the same time, it's something that we know would potentially reflect our values. I guess I'm wondering, rather than discussing in depth right now, which isn't appropriate, if this should maybe go in the parking lot.
Well, certainly, we will have an update for the board. I think you will recall that Liana is actually working with PSU in this very field of naming and recognizing. So we certainly will have. They're working away on selection of working with students from PSU. So there's. It's going to be a little while, for the study to be done, but certainly we could invite Liana to give us an update at the next board meeting as the progress is moving forward to really have exactly that. To have the hope is we have a group of names that are appropriately that have been vetted, and as topics like this come up, as new sites come up, renaming sites, anything is possible for sure.
If she has capacity, I'd love to get an update from her soon.
Sure. Well, we certainly can get an email update for the board, and then follow up with an actual board meeting.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns from my peers?
Madam President, this is Wendy. And I just wanted to give credit to the Parks and Facilities Advisory Committee, which has been working closely on this as well for the past year on naming and cultural recognition. So I think this is a very timely letter. I'd like very much to have her suggestions included in what the district is already looking at for better recognition of our history and our past. So I appreciate the letter, and I appreciate Doug's recognition that staff is already doing a lot on this, and great, let's move forward.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns or comments? Okay, with that, we will move on to board time. I know it's only been a week since we've seen each other, but I'll just go in an order. Wendy, any updates from you?
Thank you. No, like you said, it's only been a week, but I've been out to Greenway Park again, so that's really kind of cool.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, so I'm out wandering around looking at our beautiful parks, and I look forward to going to many more as time goes on. But I wanted to take just a moment to recognize the service of Keith Hobson. He's been with us, I'm going to say more than 20 years with the district. He has helped us grow in immeasurable ways. He's been the quiet force behind the scenes in many instances. He's taken, I think, us in new directions, sometimes when we weren't ready to go, but they were good directions. I think he's done his very best. And certainly in uncertain times. And I just wanted to say thank you. And I very much appreciate the gift of his professionalism and his life, actually, that he has committed to the district in the last many, many years. It's been a great pleasure to work with him, and I will miss him.
You beat me to the punch, Wendy. Well, since you brought it up, yes, I want to make sure that we have a chance to acknowledge Keith and his service. I also know that he's not going to want a ton of attention, and that's just fine. So I'll just say that, Keith, I really appreciate your service and leadership and all the guidance you've provided me in making sure that I can be the best director that I can be, and you will be missed, and stay in touch. Anything my peers would like to say regarding Keith's leadership?
This is Tia. I would like to echo everything that Wendy said, and I love the description of a quiet force because that's kind of fits him perfectly. Thank you, Keith, for everything you've done for our district, and for us, or for me particularly as new board member, taking the time to always explain and answer on any questions and just be really patient with us. And we always knew that your heart and intention with the district was pure, and we are just so grateful for your service, and really sad to see you go, but hopefully you'll enjoy retirement. So yeah.
This is Heidi. I feel like Keith was one of the first people I really got to get to know within the district as we made our way to Capitol Hill to learn about and speak about what we needed from our legislative representatives and you know, from a federal level. And I'm really grateful because I was so green and new to this work, and you really helped me to better understand what our legislative asks were, both at the state and federal level. This is a huge loss for us because your institutional knowledge and your expertise, you have been part of the driving force for the success of the district over the past couple of decades, and especially as we've faced the trials over this past year. Indebted to you and grateful for everything you've done. So it's been an honor to get to know you and your wife, and to know that you're both going to be retired and get to enjoy that time together. I hope it's good, and I hope you won't be all that distant.
This is Ashley. Everyone said all the wonderful things, and I just agree, Keith. I've just been so grateful for also your mentorship and your leadership. You've helped us get through hard things. You've helped this new board acclimate and learn the ins and outs of the budget and good things like that to help us serve the district better. So thank you, and you will be missed.
And I know Doug wanted to say a few words.
If I could, please. It was rather unique. I mean, this time came a little quicker than we desired or anticipated, but through the COVID event, it was really remarkable because I recall a couple different times reporting back to the board individually that you'll be amazed at the staff meeting we just had, and Keith was the most positive one on the staff meeting. And we just had this unique environment where we all needed support, and time again, Keith was there to kind of remind us to, you know, pay attention to the science, and certainly on the numbers side, helping us to really focus in on some of the harder choices we had to make. But the reality is of trying to protect the integrity of the district as we move forward. I've really always appreciated his efforts. One of the most remarkable things that, for the taxpayer's perspective, that Keith will have done, assuming that the final packages get put together, but our opportunities, and the board is well aware of the federal legislative acts that have at times made it challenging for us when we're working on trail projects. And we appear to be positioned, and this is almost entirely due to Keith's efforts of getting language in that enable us to manage our own projects, because our staff is very good at doing just that, and not having to be handcuffed with contracts that we don't get to sign and are managed by others, but yet we have the financial obligations. And that aspect alone, you know, it will save this district millions of dollars coming down the road. And it's really a remarkable achievement for a special district to be positioned, and Keith nationally to make a difference for agencies across the board. So I really appreciate Keith and his service to the district.
I would just like to say thank you all for those kind words. It's been an amazing career here. I've had opportunities I never dreamed of, and I'm just really always going to value this time and appreciate it. So thank you.
Hugs, Keith. I'm positive you want us to change the subject. But thank you. And I'm glad we got to say our thank yous. So back to committee liaison updates. Heidi, anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I, reflected a little bit upon what has happened over the last 3 weeks locally and in our nation. And we've witnessed another Black man being killed, and the need for us to respond to our Black communities and what their needs are. So I hope that we will not let down with that, and to really call out the need to recognize not just people of color, but Black lives, Black individuals that live here in Washington County and within our district, and are welcoming them and supporting them in our services, activities, trails, and parks. So, Rayshard Brooks was the latest, and we need to remember him along with George Floyd and others that have suffered in the racism that we face in our country right now. So that also said, I want to reflect a little bit upon Nature and Trails. We haven't met due to COVID, but I'm really looking forward to Bruce and the presentation to talk a little bit tonight about our plans moving forward with Tualatin Hills Nature Park. That's something that some of us have been involved in for well over a year, and I'm sure for Bruce for a few years now. And so I'm looking forward to us moving forward with that. And also want to recognize Claire Reneau for sharing that wonderful letter with us about how we should be considering the renaming of our trails to really represent those who are the native people, the Tualatin, who were the native people of that land, and what that meant to them. So one last piece would be with respect to the foundation. So Tualatin Hills Park Foundation released a lovely statement this week in our support of Black lives, as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the foundation's dedication to make sure that we provide programming and support and funding for and to move ahead our mission of access for all. So had a wonderful conversation with Eileen Kravitz, our executive director, today about that work and some planning moving forward to see how the foundation can support those efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Tia?
Hi, no real updates. Oh, we did do summer camps. We got registration, we were able to get through and get registered. So Zoe, who my 7-year-old, was able to get 3 summer classes today. So we're really excited for that, and excited to kind of see the fluidity of how registration and what classes will be offered as we move more towards summer and get more direction from the governor's office. Other than that, I also echo everything that Heidi says, and I hope as we move forward, I know as a board, all of us are very committed to DEIA and everything like that, and I want to make sure that we don't let off the gas and we continue to accelerate and do things for the communities such as Black Lives Matters, those that are in need, and that we really focus on each group that needs our help and figure out ways and have open communication with experts and members of those communities to figure out how we can best reach and support them. Yeah, that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Tia. Ashley, any updates?
No major updates. I echo my colleagues and want to recognize I know that registration was very different this time around, and so grateful that we still move forward with Centro, even if it was on a smaller scale than we planned. I'm excited to see how Centro de Bienvenida grows going forward, because I do think it's a good example of us living our values, and I'm excited to just to see that come to life even more through our commitment to the members of our community.
Thank you. My colleagues said such beautiful things, so I copy everything that they've said. Thank you to staff, especially those that made registration happen and summer camp happen. I know everyone has had to pivot, and it's been overwhelming, and we appreciate you very much. And as I know, most of us know, the trails have never been so popular, so I appreciate all the staff that are working on that. I do have one quick question for Doug. I just want to make sure that we're still on track for July to discuss Park Patrol, keeping in mind the things that are happening nationally.
Yes, correct. We're going to do a work session that'll be, the front end will be SDC related, and then the second presentation during work session will be Park Patrol. And I also had, if it's okay, I'm going to ask Holly to give a quick update on some signage artwork that we're in the midst of moving on a concept, and it's exciting. I think she'll have more of an update at your July meeting, but she could give at least a little bit of info.
Great.
Please.
Yes, thank you, Doug, for that opportunity. I just wanted to address, and many of the board members have already spoken to it, staff are really thinking about what is our opportunity to create spaces and that allow people to express their views right now in our shared space in our parks. And so the maintenance staff, park patrol staff, communication staff, cultural inclusion, we're all talking right now, and we'll have a presentation for you in July and hopefully some forward movement on it. But we're identifying a couple of locations in the district where we'd like to see and work with community groups that to do a mural, to do some expression and paint some messages of hope and solidarity right now. And then so we're identifying a couple of sites that have walls that would be ideal locations for that. And then we're also identifying parks throughout the district, spread out geographically, where we're thinking about doing sort of a garden art type piece. And you've seen a lot of the painted rocks that people have brought to the parks during the COVID pandemic. And we want to create spaces where people could bring messages of Black Lives Matter and solidarity and really identify, mark that, and encourage people to share their solidarity messages there and their viewpoints. And then also work with community partners who could leverage that into communication pieces and potentially do messages on social media at our spaces. It's a great opportunity to remind people that parks belong to everyone, to express our values, and to give people outlets for solidarity in an appropriately physically distanced time right now. So we're going to put these plans together really quick and hope to get moving pretty quick. We've already spoken with a couple of organizations, including the students, the teacher that helped the students at Sunset High School with a rally there. So we're really super excited to bring some concepts forward.
Thank you, Holly. I wish you could see my heart glowing right now. And I'm so appreciative that at this organization, we get to live out our values. So thank you so much. And I look forward to that update next month. With that, we will move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve that?
Madam President, this is Wendy. I move that the board approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
This is Tia. I'll second that.
Jessica?
Ashley Hartmeyer-Prigg,
Yes.
Heidi Edwards,
Yes.
Tia Ping,
Yes.
Wendy Kroger,
Yes.
Felista Monteblanco.
Yes. Thank you, Jessica. And now moving on to new business. we have a presentation by Bruce and several Clean Water Services folks.
Good evening. This is Bruce Barbarash, Nature and Trails Manager for the Park District. And I also have on the line with me two staff from Clean Water Services. I have Brad Crement, who is a senior engineer, and then I have Kellen Baez, who is a project manager with Clean Water Services. And what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to give you an overview of the proposed sewer project at the Tualatin Hills Nature Park. And then I'm going to turn the floor over to Brad, and he's going to talk to you about some of the details. I'm just getting my screen ready to share with you, and then we'll roll with the presentation here. Uh-oh, here we go. Can everybody see that now?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So Tualatin Hills Nature Park, 222 acres. It's one of the larger natural areas that the Park District owns or manages. Here's an aerial viewpoint of it. And the park is known for being very diverse as far as the habitats that are there, as well as the wildlife and plants that are there.
Bruce, your PowerPoint is not advancing.
Oh.
Yeah, we're seeing the blue Cedar Mill Creek Sanitary and Regional Stormwater Management slide.
Let's try again. Let me undo this and we'll start again.
Much better.
Okay, take two. Now do you see a map of the Tualatin Hills Nature Park?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Here's an aerial view of the park just to give you a sense of it. It's mostly a forested site. It's got two major creeks that run through it. And the park has a variety of unusual plants and animals and is very diverse as far as the types of habitats that you'll find there. It's also one of our busiest and most important sites for education and for exercise and for folks just getting out and enjoying nature. It's got about 5 miles of trail there. Clean Water Services has the need to replace an existing sewer line that runs along Cedar Mill Creek. It follows the pink line that you see in the presentation here. And they are going to need to replace the entire line and essentially put a new line in. Over the course of 2 years, they will impact trails where you see the red X's that are on the screen. They will also be realigning one of the boardwalks that are here. Right now, if you were to look across some of the construction areas, you would see a lot of habitat that's a combination of grassy areas, some weedy areas, and then some areas, as in the background of the picture on the left, that have a lot of fairly young or middle-aged wetland trees like Oregon ash trees. On the right side of the screen, you'll see one of the boardwalks that would be impacted by the project. And there's a total of 4 that would ultimately have some effect from this. After the project is over, Clean Water Services will come through with a professional restoration crew over the course of several years, and they will both do some stream bank enhancement to increase resiliency in the park, as well as doing a lot of vegetative replanting like you see the person on the right doing. When the boardwalks that are impacted are rebuilt, they will be rebuilt from end to end, and they will be rebuilt to current Park District standards, which includes a newer surface material that you see in this picture called pultruded plastic. Big picture, these are the project numbers. The project would start construction in summer 2021. They would go through the fall, they'd take a break for the winter, they'd come back again the following summer, wrapping up in fall of 2022 if everything goes according to plan. They would ask for a temporary easement in order to do all the construction work of a little more than 17 acres. And then to maintain the site, they would ask for about a 2-acre permanent easement, which would be a lot less intrusive and more occasional. Unfortunately, to do the project, about 475 trees will be removed. Many of them will be reused on the site for stream enhancement and other habitat purposes. And by the time the project is done, approximately 1,500 linear feet of boardwalk will be rebuilt to current standards. So I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to turn the floor over again to Brad Crement, the project manager, and he's going to take it from there. And Brad, just tell me what you need, and I'll advance the slides for you. Oh, wait, did I cover? I covered this. Let me move on. Brad?
Yes, thank you, Bruce, for that introduction, and good evening to the board. I'd like to thank you for the invitation to come today and tell you more about our project. Why don't you go ahead and advance, Bruce? Bruce kind of already showed a map before. This one's maybe a little more detailed. In the red line on the screen, you can see is the existing trunk line. When we started looking at replacing the line, it became evident that the existing corridor where the existing line was disturbed 40 years ago. So that was probably more of the newer forest areas. So as Bruce alluded to, some of the younger trees are located in that corridor. So in order to avoid the more mature forest, we felt just following the same corridor was going to be advantageous. Can you go to the next slide, Bruce? So a little bit about why we're replacing the line. It was built in 1975, so it's had its 40 years of service life, and our models are currently predicting that it'll be capacity deficient by 2025. Of course, we don't always rely strictly on models, so we also have flow meter data on this line. And it shows during heavy storm events, we do see surcharging in the line. And what that means is the pipe is completely full with sewage. It's not overspilling by any means. It's not coming out of manholes, but it is severely under capacity. So we need to upsize it. In order to do that, we're going to upsize about just under 5,000 feet of pipe. And we're going to take it from 36-inch to 48-inch. And people often ask me, they look at that and they go, well, that's not that much bigger of a pipe. It seems like, why aren't you making something much, much bigger? And in fact, the 48-inch line actually has twice the capacity of a 36-inch line, just due to how volume works the circles. And so we're going to get twice, we'll be able to carry twice as much flow with that 48-inch pipe. And as also talked about, we did a very detailed alternative analysis in order to select the alignment. Some of the first things we looked at was actually locating the pipe outside of the park. Unfortunately, that was not feasible due to the depths that would be required. Some of those depths were 40, 50, 60 feet that we'd have to deal with, which just made it impractical. With that, we also wanted to help improve maintenance access. This line currently goes through wetlands and inaccessible areas. So if we ever did have a maintenance issue, we wouldn't be able to get crews to there to fix the problem. So we're looking at improving that with this project. Next slide, please. And with the sanitary project, we wanted to definitely leave the site in a better condition than we found it. So we were really trying to put a natural resource enhancement project together at the same time. And what we're looking to do is really improving the stream resiliency. The park is just a beautiful park. It's amazing to be at. I love going out there and walking around. It's my favorite project to go visit. But the stream is starting to become a little inundated or channelized. And so it could use a little bit of help. And what we're planning on doing is putting in some in-channel wood and some high flow side channels. And that's just going to help preserve the health of that stream. And then also, we're going to be doing a lot of invasive plant management. So as Bruce's pictures showed earlier, we picked some of those areas to disturb, knowing that they actually needed some help. And so we felt that we could essentially do two things at the same time. We could construct the sewer and also leave the site in much better condition. Next slide. Knowing that this park was a huge jewel to THPRD, we reached out to staff right away as we started to work on this project to have them be partners in the project. We did significant amount of public outreach. We had public open houses with Friends of the Nature Park and the Nature Trails Advisory Committee, try to get some input before we settled on an alignment. And we're really looking to minimize the disturbance to the nature park and the park users. We've set the project up to stage it in 2 different years, and that was mainly so that we could leave parts of the park open instead of cutting it in half through the whole time. So we can work on the southern half the first year and let the first half and then allow the north half to stay open, and then vice versa the second year. And then the location is also close to the creek, so that allowed us to easily do some stormwater management approaches with the creek as well. Next slide. However, there is going to be there's no way to candy coat it, that there will be some big impacts to the park as we go through and replace the sewer. And to do that, we're going to need new permanent and temporary easements. There will be several trails and boardwalks that will be impacted during constructions, and certain parts of the park will be segmented or isolated. We've worked with a plan of closing those parks or those boardwalks and those trails with THPRD staff. And we're actually looking to relocate some of those so that we can keep them open during construction, so that we have access over to 170th. With this, we've also defined maintenance routes so that we can get in with our equipment to maintain the line in the future. And we'll be improving boardwalks and pathways to be able to support our equipment. Next slide. So with this, we've been working diligently on an intergovernmental agreement with staff, and this would exchange the easements for boardwalk improvements and replacement of boardwalks. And this, as Bruce alluded to, would be full replacement from end to end to current standards. We are relocating one of the boardwalks, and we're going to do our best to keep trails accessible during construction. We've committed in the IGA to work with staff throughout the project in order to keep things flowing as well as possible. Next slide. That's it. That's all I have. So I'll leave it open for questions and be happy to answer anything.
Thank you so much. Yes, we've been following this, and so it's nice to hear the latest, and so I'll just let my peers take a bit of the lead. Wendy, any questions, comments, concerns?
Thank you. Yes. First of all, I want to thank both Bruce and Brad for your presentation this evening. I know this has been a long time coming, and I appreciate all the information you've given us. I did want to encourage, and Bruce has heard this from me before, I did want to encourage the maximum public education, signage, that sort of thing as you go along, so that people who come through the park and say, what the heck is going on, will see it. That people are always fascinated by engineering. And if we can show that we're doing it for the environment and for the community, I think that you'll get a lot of support for that. So I really do encourage continued public education on this, and as well education in the park after we are finished. I did have one question, and it just generally has to do with permitting. I wondered if you, Brad, could tell us a little bit the status of both, well, your DSL permit and your Army Corps of Engineers and the 1200C permit from DEQ. Do you have to have those? If so, where are they, and how will they work? Thank you.
Yes, we do need permits from DSL Core and DEQ 1200C permits. We have the permit applications drafted currently, and we're currently under internal review of those. This will be like our third review, I believe, so we're very close to final and submittal. So we're hoping to have those submitted in the next month or two, and that usually takes about a 4-month turnaround. So we hope to have permits by the end of the year. The 1200C permit from DEQ is a little bit shorter. That's usually about a 45-day turnaround. So we would look to do that application much closer to construction time.
Thank you. Heidi?
Yes, this is Heidi. I just want to recognize that this is an excellent example of interagency collaboration. Really want to commend Clean Water Services and the work that the district is doing, and Bruce, you helping to lead that from the district level. You know, having been able to participate in one of the open houses that was now a year ago, and to be able to voice our concerns and to have those concerns addressed, and to take that feedback is really, really important in the transparency of the work that we do within the community, but then also to recognize, like, we have these community advisory committees who have been invited to participate and did. And so I really thank you for your leadership in this. I know it's going to be a little bit painful for folks who love and frequent that space as myself, but definitely necessary, and just want to commend you for this partnership.
Thank you. We appreciate the input we got from different committees and other stakeholders.
Ashley?
Thank you. I just had like one logistics question. So Bruce, you mentioned that part of the schedule is there'll be a break for the winter, I believe. And so is the goal that we'd get to a certain amount of completeness, like in that first phase, so that like a section isn't just closed while no work is being done?
That's a great question. Some areas will be closed for the duration, but the most important change is the big fur trail, which connects the east and west parts of the park, will be rebuilt in the first season. So there'll be a temporary downtime, but by the winter, when construction ends, that boardwalk will be ready for folks to have access to the west side of the park. As Brad mentioned, because the project is phased, the Oak Trail, which runs on the north side of the park, will remain open until that point in the second year, but the West Side Trail, which runs just north of the Oak Trail, will remain open continuously. So folks coming from the light rail station, for example, can still get around to the main part of the park. There unfortunately will be a little bit of disconnection at some of the northern or northwestern parts of the park, but we'll put up signage. Clean Water has agreed to take the lead on keeping information current, maps and detour stuff available.
Thank you so much.
Tia?
I just want to say thanks. The presentation was great. I have no questions at this time.
Yeah, this is Felicita. Really appreciate that there is such a commitment to not only our park goers, but also the environment, and that this really exemplifies the wonderful partnership that we have with Clean Water Services. So with that, I will entertain a motion.
This is Ashley. I move that the Board of Directors approve the easements, intergovernmental agreement, and associated documents with Clean Water Services, and authorization for the General Manager or his designee to execute the necessary documents to facilitate the project.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
This is Heidi. I second.
Jessica?
Wendy Kroger,
Yes.
Tia Ping,
Yes.
Heidi Edwards,
Yes.
Ashley Hartmeyer-Prigg,
Yes.
Felicita Monteblanco.
Yes. With that, there's nothing else on the agenda. Doug or my peers, any final words?
All good.
Okay. Well, thank you. With that, we will adjourn the last meeting in June. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.